Happy New Year, everyone. One thing about the new year is going to always get us thinking. New goals, fresh starts. So I'm curious, what's your New Year's resolution if you made one? But today's topic is a little different. We'll be discussing an old man whose New Year resolution was to die. As you read by the title, today we'll be discussing the Good Times New Year's Eve episode where the Evans family run across a man who feels like he has nothing left to live for. Good Times, Season 3, Episode 16, A Place to Die. The episode begins with JJ on the phone trying to rent a tuxedo for a New Year's Eve party that night when Florida reminds him that she's expecting a call from James and that he needs to hurry his call up. James calls with good news, letting the family know that he'll be home for New Year's Eve. Florida, JJ, and Thelma all celebrate because they didn't know if their father was coming home in time for New Year. Then they get a knock at the door. Florida opens the door and it's an unknown older man. Florida invites him in and asks him what's going on. He looks around and he says, "This is the perfect place for me to die." Of course, the family is like, "Huh? What? The perfect place for you to die, sir? Who are you?" Michael busts in the door and he greets Mr. Johnson. When Michael comes in the door, Mr. Johnson lights up and they start doing the hustle. They start dancing and Mr. Johnson informs the family that Michael is his only friend. He does have 2 children, a son and a daughter. One lives in Georgia and one lives in California. But Mr. Johnson says that they don't really call and check on him anymore. He lives in an old folks home. You could tell Florida is beginning to get a soft spot for Mr. Johnson after he told her about his children and him living in an old folks home and him just wanting to pass away around a nice loving family. Another knock on the door. And they open the door and it is 2 movers with a bed. Lola then comes in the door after the movers leave and asks, "What's going on? What's all the commotion?" That's when she sees Mr. Johnson for the first time and he already knows her name and everything about her. He introduces himself. Mr. Johnson said that if he does not pass away by New Year, he will go back to the old folks' home. Mr. Johnson asks Florida if he can stay, to which she was reluctant. She didn't know what James would think if he came home and a random old man was in the house. Michael pleaded and they sent the man in the room so that they can have a family discussion on whether they should let him stay or send him back to his home. The next morning, JJ wakes up and tries to wake Mr. Johnson up. He doesn't wake up immediately, so JJ calls Florida and the rest of the family out to the living room to check on Mr. Johnson. When everybody gets concerned and scared, that's when Mr. Johnson rises up. He's wearing a tuxedo, what he plans on wearing to his funeral. And he said he was just practicing. Walona comes in and the family has breakfast. Of course, there's some jokes back and forth between JJ and Thelma about Thelma's cooking. After breakfast, the phone rings and Florida answers the phone. It's James with bad news. He lets Florida know that he won't be home in time and he's snowed in wherever he's at. After the phone call, Florida is sad because her and James, they have spent New Year together for the last, how many years they've been married? 30, 40, 50, I don't know how long. But she was really sad. So all the kids and Walona, they all canceled their New Year's Eve plans to stay home with Florida and throw a party. During the party, Mr. Johnson is still moping around, sad, and just saying that he can't wait to die. He don't know how long it's going to take. Why is he still here? Walona then says, "Let me do your eulogy now." So they start dancing. They start having a good time. She doing his eulogy, talking about, what kind of person he was. And in the midst of the commotion and dancing and partying, they turn around and Mr. Johnson is slouched over on the couch. Everybody notices that Mr. Johnson is now sitting in a chair and not dancing with them. So Florida walks over to him and she looks and she says, he passed away. Michael becomes really upset because this was a, close friend of his. Florida hugs Michael and everybody is sad, but Florida says, he got his last wish. He wanted to pass away around happiness and family. If you've watched this episode, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Would you allow somebody to fulfill their last dying wish in your house on the holidays? This New Year episode stands out because it reminds us that the holidays aren't happy for everyone. And also, a little act of kindness can go a long way. Florida could have turned him away, but instead she opened her home up to him for the holidays and gave him his one last wish. If you enjoy deep dives into classic TV moments that meant something, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can mean everything to a person.